Good morning. Welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder. This is BRN AM for Thursday, December 22nd, 2022. And our top story today, the Federal Trade Commission sues to block the Microsoft acquisition of Activision. Joining me now to discuss this and a lot more, Colette Bennett is with The Street. Well, Colette, it's great to see you. Happy New Year's, happy holidays to you and your family. Thanks so much for joining us on the program this morning.
Thank you, and happy holidays to you too. I'm happy to do a little pre-Christmas check-in with y'all.
Absolutely. Well, appreciate that. And we're going to talk a little bit about gaming, which is one of your expertises and forte. In particular, the Federal Trade Commission is suing Microsoft to block their acquisition of Activision. So why is this acquisition so significant within the gaming industry and significant for Microsoft in particular?
Well, gosh, that's a question with a lot of potential threads, but let me try to encapsulate it a little bit. Basically, Microsoft, the big concern that the FTC has about Microsoft purchasing Activision is that it's kind of buying its way to the top, so to speak. Kind of give Microsoft a boost that would kind of push it up as far as it would push it up higher in the list of top revenue drivers among video game companies. And so I think that the FTC, I've noticed that they have been cracking down a lot more as of late, kind of like on acquisitions and kind of keeping an eye on what people are acquiring and why. Like they're also in a battle right now with Meta about acquiring a VR fitness company. That's another story. But on the whole, I think they're just keeping a really close eye on artificially kind of increasing the size and the bottom line of companies.
Yeah, and just to kind of pick up on that, I mean, Microsoft, when you look at their rating, a note here that I have that the Microsoft Xbox, which I don't use, I don't even play games, as we've talked about, is in third place behind Sony's PlayStation and Nintendo Switch. To your point, Microsoft is really not in the lead as it would be, for example, operating systems on your PC, your laptop,
right.
Some other places. So go ahead.
You have to remember Microsoft entered the gaming space very late in comparison to every other major competitor in the space. So the top three right now, I believe, are Tencent, which is a Chinese company that's been at it for quite some time. Sony, how long Sony's been around. And even though Nintendo is further down on the list, obviously, they've been making games for decades. So when Microsoft tried to enter the space, they did so with the first Xbox, which was a very masculine, male-centered kind of offering. They wanted to do something that was very kind of American, I think. They have literally decades to catch up to these other companies. So I think potentially one of the FTC concerns is by doing something like, vacuuming up a company like Activision Blizzard, which, Blizzard itself has been around for, many, many decades as well, and has been making games steadily that are very popular, that, they are kind of like, skipping a few rungs, so to speak. So I think they want to avoid a monopoly, the FTC wants to avoid, letting them kind of move into like a monopoly setting.
Yeah, and just to, I know Activision from my Atari days. I mean, they have been at the forefront of not content creation, but video game creation. Is some of the concern, you look at providers like Netflix, Amazon, others, the streaming manufacturers are looking to get into gaming. That could potentially push down Microsoft and its offering. Where does streaming kind of fit into all this?
Well, I think it's challenging, right? Because, for instance, Microsoft actually has and I've talked about this on the show before, they have a service right now they offer called Game Pass, which is kind of like Netflix, but for games. And while other gaming companies have kind of tried to construct things like that, no one is really offering it on the level that Microsoft is. So they do have a great edge in that. Like that's definitely been a big conversation in the game industry, how they kind of did it first. So, that's a plus for them. But on the other hand, I think that like with other streaming companies, they are kind of coming into it so late in the gaming space. Like for instance, Netflix, I saw a release yesterday that Netflix has finally gotten to their goal of releasing like 50 games for mobile, but they're also in the process of like acquiring studios and like getting ready to make their own game, which with success, it could mean they're actually a player in the space. But I think on the whole, for any streaming service to have like a good chance to actually catch up, they would have to come up with something, a runaway hit basically to even get like register on the scale with these, video game companies that have been at it, most of them for decades. So, we'll see how that goes.
Colette, is some of this left over from the 1998 Justice Department suit for Microsoft? I don't know if you remember that case, but it was Microsoft was embedding, I think it's Internet Explorer web browser and obfuscating or not including Netscape, Mosaic, and some of the other browsers of the time, and they got sued for monopoly. Is some of this hesitation by the FTC, again, different entity, but is it kind of left over from that 1998 suit almost 24 years ago?
I would say that the connection there, not so much that it's left over per se, but the connection there is that the FTC kind of watches big companies like this that have a lot of power because of, high revenue. And they know that, there may be some shortcuts to, the ways that they try to make things work. So, the FTC just sued Epic Games, which is something that we can get into later. But, they were so successful with the video game Fortnite that there were some back roads that they took too that were not exactly legal or appropriate. I think that when you get to a certain level of success and size with the company, there are times when you kind of have to sort of keep an eye on what they're doing. And I think that's what the FTC is trying to do. They're trying to kind of be the good cop in the situation and make sure things are fair. But yeah, I mean, that's the thread between the two, I think.
Yeah, I kind of look at the FTC similar to the SEC in the sense that they're trying to maintain a fair market in the case of the SEC in terms of financial markets and the FTC in terms of communications and whatnot. Colette, I need to take a very quick break. When we come back, we'll talk more about gaming and maybe what to expect in 2023. Since it's almost here, you're going to want to stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms, especially for the smaller businesses? I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
Are you stuck with a low credit score? A credit report and score that's causing you to be denied credit or pay higher interest rates than others for the same things? Then do what Terrence did and call Credit Repaired for your free credit evaluation to help restore your credit.
I started thinking about buying a new house, and my score wasn't where I needed it to be. I called and spoke with one of the representatives, and we just had a good conversation, and I liked what he was saying.
Just one call for his free credit evaluation was all it took to start back on the track to repairing his credit.
I'm seeing the deletions and I'm getting the report, so I know something's being done. It does make a difference to me.
All it takes is one call to get started.
Credit repair has given me a second chance to have a better credit score.
Don't let a low credit score hold you back another day. Do what Terrence did and make the call for your free credit evaluation.
Call 800-819-4152. That's 800-819-4152. Again, 800-819-4152.
Nothing is known 100%. So my strategy does not change based off what other people expect. My strategy is based off of what I expect. And what I expect is to retire when I'm around 60 years old. And so I make my investments today based off what my future goal is, which is, to retire in 30 or 40 years. That's my goal.
Welcome back. We're talking this morning to Colette Bennett of The Street. Colette, thanks so much for sticking with us this morning for segment number 2.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
All right, let's talk about the gaming industry. Maybe we put the cart before the horse in terms of the FTC versus Microsoft vis-a-vis through the Activision Blizzard merger. But let's take a step back. What is the hottest theme in gaming? Is it VR, virtual reality? Is it still gaming on the laptop or the mobile device? Where is the biggest bang for your buck if you're a game manufacturer?
Gosh, there's so many potential answers to that question. I'm like, So just to address a couple of things you noted, VR is definitely not the be all end all. I think it still has some adoption issues with, people feeling like, oh, the equipment is expensive or the headset is heavy, that kind of thing. And which, to be honest, they still kind of are. I think that is something that really look forward to some changes with. PlayStation is releasing their new VR 2 next year. It looks much lighter. It's extremely good resolution, much better graphical quality. I think that's going to be really exciting for gamers. But HTC also just announced what's coming next for them. They also made a VR headset that was kind of like top of the line a few years back. They have another one coming. And then Apple is supposedly making a headset, which, if it does, I feel like that could be the really big point of main adoption for VR, because knowing Apple, they will make it light. They will make it, easy. They will make it, sure, it'll probably be expensive, but that's never stopped anybody from buying any other Apple product. So I think there is a good chance that when Apple comes to the market, that kind of vault VR to the next level. But I think that as far as, trends go on the whole, what I'm seeing is gamers seem to be still really interested in big first-party titles. We are definitely about to see a shift in cost of AAA titles that I've never seen before. And I've actually been curious to see how gamers are going to react to this. $60 is usually the price point for what they call a AAA game, top production values. But several of the big companies have announced that they're going to a new price point of $70, and that could go with deluxe editions as high as $90 or $100, which is kind of vaulting games to a new level. And I think that's really interesting, especially when we are, going into a year where there are a lot of recession fears and a lot of, prices of everyday things like groceries and such are very high. So I'm not sure how people are going to react to that, but I think it really is a different kind of circumstance in the space that we've really never quite seen that juxtaposition of things before.
$50 sounds, I was going to say $50 sounds like a lot of money to me. And I was going to ask you about we talked about streaming. What's the link between Hollywood? Is there a link between Hollywood and gaming? Because I remember, back when the Atari was around and the NES, they would have like games like Aliens, and you could be Ellen Ripley, and
right.
It was just basically a two-dimensional shooting game. But what is that link? I mean, is every the new Indiana Jones 5 is coming out? I think it's the something of Destiny, Date of Destiny, Dial of Destiny. I think Dial of Destiny. So is that potentially a video game, and will they work with Lucasfilm, work with LucasArts to create a game?
Yeah, I mean, those kind of crossovers have definitely always happened. Sometimes they're successful, sometimes they're not. But I think that the bigger kind of crossover between Hollywood and games you'll see is actually in the opposite direction. And we've been seeing more and more of it lately. It's kind of a long-standing joke in the gaming community that like filmmakers can never make a good video game movie. Like they were all like kind of notoriously terrible for like many, many years. But the last like 5 years or so, we've seen some movies that are like starting to really seem to like get it in terms of like the nuances of the game and what made it so appealing to gamers versus kind of like a straight adaptation of, you know, oh, we hit this action point here and here and here. So like a good example is that HBO is adapting a game that was a massive success some years back called The Last of Us. And so they are now going to premiere a series in 2023, you know, big cast names. It looks incredibly faithful to the game. However, I will say that the game itself kind of almost had Hollywood-like storytelling. So I'm wondering if maybe as games kind of continue to elevate their storytelling and their production, they're kind of coming closer to, you know, working well in movie format. But yeah, so that's really nice to see. Hollywood definitely looks to games big time, though. I've seen a lot of stuff adapted in the last couple of years that I've been like, wow, they're gonna do that. They're gonna do that. So
are these big budget to produce a game? Whether you're Activision Blizzard, if you are some of the other manufacturers, I don't even know who they are anymore. But are these huge budgets? Because they almost are theatrical.
Right.
When I was into gaming, there would be like little theatrical vignettes that would appear between segments
Correct.
of the game, and they would star like people like Mike. I can remember Michael Biehn, Command and Conquer, perfect example. Michael Biehn, Carrie Wurr, and other actors and actresses were used to that. So are these,
right,
in terms of dollars, big, like almost like big budget movies?
they're really getting there. I mean, like what we would call a AAA game at this point, honestly, you know, like a Call of Duty, you know, a game like The Last of Us, billions, sometimes billions. And also they're doing like full motion capture. So just like movies like, for instance, like, you know, The Lord of the Rings, how they had like a real actor play like, you know, my God, I can't remember his name.
Well,
Gollum,
Smeagol,
you know?
right.
Smeagol, yeah.
Smeagol, right?
Like that is pretty much being done, that motion capture, in most AAA games now, which means you have to hire actors, you have to have the tech to do that. You have to, yeah, it's more expensive than it's ever been before, but games are making more money than they've ever made before. And the outlook for what kind of money they're going to make as the years go on is just enormous. So I think that's why so many companies, you know, are interested, you know, from Hollywood to, you know, folks like Netflix. Well, how can we kind of revive streaming, you know, our product? Everyone kind of wants to get in on gaming now because I think they're seeing that it's becoming more and more of a cash cow than ever before.
And also, I think the customer wants more of an immersive experience. You know, when you go to the movie theater, you can have surround sound, or if you watch it at home, because I haven't been to the movie theater in years. Sorry,
No,
AMC.
me either.
sorry, AMC theaters. I just, you know, COVID, the price of popcorn's outrageous. But it's, people, I think, want an immersive experience. When you play a video game that's like a movie, you're in the movie. You're Indiana Jones. You are Ellen Ripley. You are a Marvel comic hero, or Rick from The Walking Dead. People want that. It makes them an active participant. I feel like people are not, you know, movies used to be in the 80s, they were 2 hours and 25 minutes. Now they're like 90 minutes. So I think people want to be engaged and a participant.
Yeah, it's interesting because, you know, I think when I was growing up, games were for kids, you know, like Atari and Nintendo were things for kids. And I think over the years, we've kind of slowly seen games ramp up into a point where more and more adults play them. Today, more adults play games than kids do. I think this was the NPD's like last numbers for 2021 I saw, and I was like, wow, that's really cool. So I think the product has continued to change. I mean, you'll always have, you know, companies like Nintendo out there that are making games that kind of perfectly balance on like, could be for kids or could be for adults. But for the most part, I think we have a more adult audience than we ever have before, and gaming has never been as acceptable as, you know, for everybody as it is now as a form of media. So yeah, that's pretty exciting as a person who's, you know, been, you know, had a controller in hand since I was 5.
Yeah, it's no longer Super Mario Brothers and Zelda and Ultima series. Now it's these.
Ooh, Ultima.
I'm bringing back the ones that I played as a kid. But there really is this immersive experience that anybody can relate to, and so obviously the profitability is there. Colette, we're going to have to leave it there. Thanks so much for joining us on the program. Wishing you and your family, again, a happy New Year, happy holidays, and we look forward to having you back on the program again in 2023.
23. Thank you.
That wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Have a topic of interest, somebody you think we should talk to, drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the latest curated news and lifestyle, wellness, finance, tech, so much more, and all in one place, check out today's edition of our daily newsletter, The Morning Pulse. Want to search our archives, check out our latest content? We'll visit our website and, of course, all of our streaming partners. We're back again tomorrow for another edition of BRN AM. Until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes. Now is your opportunity to co-create content around any topic on the first lifestyle and wellness network. Reach a global audience through our platform and co-own exclusive branded content. All of our programs are available on demand and also as audio-only podcasts, so you can take us on the go. Broadcast Retirement Network, available anytime, anywhere, and on any device.
Tax audits, tax liens, wage garnishments.
Every day we hear stories like this about good folks who are simply struggling to pay their bills. Each of them are living a frightening IRS tax nightmare, and they are afraid it will destroy their lives.
I'm a divorced single mom, and my ex-husband left me and the kids with a lot of unpaid bills, including unpaid taxes. I was really starting to show my stress on my kids because the IRS had sent me a letter demanding a huge payment from me. I couldn't afford it. So then the IRS was threatening to garnish my wages. I'm already living paycheck to paycheck. That would have put me over the edge financially.
It truly seemed hopeless, but then a friend at work told her to call the tax relief line.
The people at the tax relief line, they told me about something called innocent spouse relief. They worked it out so that all of the taxes from my ex are not my problem. I don't know how that works, and I don't care. All I care about is that I don't owe the IRS a dime, and they are not going to take my paycheck.
Even if it seems hopeless, you should call the number on your screen right now. There is absolutely no cost for the call or the consultation. You are under no obligation. If you are worried that the IRS could garnish your wages, seize your assets, even take your home, call us right now. The Tax Relief Line is here to help you. Now you have a knowledgeable, professional team of tax experts that are ready to negotiate with the IRS and fight for you to save you money. The Tax Relief Line's professionals have successfully negotiated thousands of cases, reducing and sometimes even eliminating the tax debt for their clients. It's very easy to get started. Simply call the number on your screen right now. You don't have to live in fear anymore. The call and the consultation are free.